All right, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon. It's Sunday, March 30th. I think we have one more day of March tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. Um, yeah, one more day of March. That's one more day of the first quarter of the year. What's up, Rob? Welcome. So we'll have to look into some higher time frame candles. Um, just to kind of get a daily view, or not a daily view, sorry, just like a bird's eye view of the market and what it's doing. Um, so yeah, so we'll get into that. I'm gonna read today from Proverbs. I think Proverbs has to be absolutely one of my favorite books because it's just like it's literally a consolidation. Like if you were to read the Bible from cover to cover, you can read about like the events that happened and the situations that happened between certain types of people throughout the Bible, and you can kind of pick and pull and learn from how they acted. But Proverbs is literally like the crash course to all of that. It like gives you all of the wisdom and what to do and what not to do in one book, and it's just straight up game. I was somebody who used to read tons of self-help books. You know, I still am somebody who constantly studies business. I constantly study, like human behavior, psychology, all of that stuff. So when I literally tell you that the book of Proverbs is straight fire game, I'm not lying to you. If you want to be the smartest person in the room, literally just read the book of Proverbs. It's just every verse. So we're going to read, and I was reading it. There's like 31 chapters. So if you just read a chapter a day, it's just, it's unbeatable, honestly. So I've been reading it before I've been going to sleep the last few days, and I'll read a few chapters at a time. But it's just so good. Um, so let me see. Okay, so I want to read chapter 23 because at the very end of this chapter, it talks about alcohol. And like, I'm not against drinking alcohol. I don't think it's a sin at all, but it does get to a point where if you were like, okay, I'm gonna take a break from drinking alcohol for like 6 months, and you're struggling and it's hard for you, and you realize you're like, holy crap, this is kind of like a stronghold. I didn't realize it because it's so normal to drink regularly. This is for you because like I said, well, drinking alcohol to me is like I'm not against it. It does get to a point where it can like without you knowing it, because it's so normal and so accepted in society to drink regularly, you don't even realize like how it affects you. So the end of this chapter is speaking to that, and like from my past and my testimony, this was like huge for me because I used to be the person that drank a lot, like, and when I mean a lot, like a lot, and it was definitely a stronghold for me. Like now I'm set free from all of that, praise the Lord. But it's fire, it's totally game. So this is chapter 23 in Proverbs. So we're just going to read the whole chapter, and starting at verse 1. So it says, when you sit down to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat. If you are given to appetite, or excuse me, put a knife to your throat if you are given in to appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Do not toil to acquire wealth. Be discerning enough to desist. When your eyes light on it, it is gone, for suddenly it sprouts wings, flying like an eagle toward heaven. Do not eat the bread of a man who is stingy. Do not desire his delicacies, for he is like one who is inwardly calculating. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the morsels that you have eaten and waste your pleasant words. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the good sense of your words. Do not do not move an ancient landmark or enter the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is strong. He will plead their cause against you. Apply your heart to instruction and your ear to words of knowledge. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. If you strike him with the rod, you will save his soul from Sheol. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart too will be glad. My inmost being will exult when your lips speak what is right. Let not your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all of the day. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Hear, my son, and be wise, and direct your heart in the way. Be not among drunkards, or among gluttonous eaters of meat, for the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and slumber will clothe them with rags. Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth and do not sell it. Buy wisdom, instruction, and understanding. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Let your father and mother be glad, and let her who bore you rejoice. My son, give me your heart, and let your eyes observe my ways. For a prostitute is a deep pit, and an adulteress is a narrow well. She lies in wait like a robber, and increases the traitors among mankind. So this is the ending part that I'm talking about, starting at verse 29. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? And who has redness of eyes? Those who tarry long over wine, and those who go to try mixed wine. Do not look at wine when it is red, and when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart utter perverse things. You will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea, the one who lies on the top of a mast. They struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt, and they beat me, but I did not feel it. When shall I awake? I must have another drink. So that is like let me just repeat the two. It says, do not look at wine when it is red and when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things and your heart will utter perverse things. So it's like, we all know that when you're drinking to the point where you're getting intoxicated, like you're not yourself. Um, and it's like when you're not yourself, who are you? Who's stepping in to act on your behalf? There's like a spiritual thing to this. And so you want to watch out because you're not going to act like yourself and you're not going to act logically. So it's just like, I don't know. That spoke to me a lot. But yeah, I mean, alcohol, again, I'm not against it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a sin to drink alcohol. But there is definitely a line. And I do believe, like in my own experience, based on how much you're drinking, it does open a door to um, spiritual influences that are not of God. So when we go back to like the fruits of the spirit, you know what I mean? One of them is self-control and like self-mastery. So it's like if you can drink to where you have mastery over yourself and you're not letting that door get open because you know when to stop, that's great and that's fine. But if you don't, like, I don't know, it can definitely change the course of your life. So I mean that whole chapter is fire, but the ending of that is just like crazy to me because that was something that I like that God has brought me out of is drinking heavily because oh man, that will definitely get you, like for sure. Okay. But yeah, like I said, the book of Proverbs, it's like there's nothing like the book of Proverbs. And it's written by Solomon too, who is, I believe, to this day, the wisest man on earth that ever lived. And even he cut up. That verse was the drinking part. The chapter was Proverbs 23, but the drinking part started at 23, chapter 23, verse 29 to the end of that chapter. I can write it in the chat. To 35. Um, yeah, but like I'm saying, even Solomon cut up. Like he was the wisest man on earth. And the second he started to give into his flesh, you know, he got caught up. He was a snare. It ended up being a snare to him. So, I mean, it's hard to walk the way God wants us to, but it's just I constantly like there are times where I really have to remind myself like I can't sit here and think I know better than God. You know what I mean? Because every time I have and I'm like, "Oh no, I can do this and it's going to work out this way," like every time it comes to bite me in the butt. Okay. So I didn't even take a trade last week because the week before that was just so slow that I just decided um the markets weren't going to move, and I'm kind of very disappointed in myself because there was a really profitable move that happened on uh Dow Jones that I could have just set a limit for and let it run. But it's okay. It's okay. Okay, so let's start on the dollar. Here's Monday. All right, so last week on the dollar, I've been wanting to see the dollar buy up into this area here. There's a weekly bearish order block, there's imbalance here, and it's just, we have our Fibonacci levels that also give us confluence for those areas as well. Um, because we know that the dollar is going to keep selling. We hit our peak a while back, and that's the end of that cycle, and so we're resetting and things are moving around. Manufacturers are coming back to America. People are going to be buying more American made stuff. So you want a weak dollar for that. So we didn't get like tons of crazy movement, but we did get a push to the upside here. We didn't get all the way into the fib levels I would have liked to see, but nonetheless, we did get a slow push to the upside. This is Monday and we just crawled up into here. It does look like we've broken structure. We broke this, well, we kind of broke. Let's go to the 4 hour. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like we broke structure here, but again, we didn't get a candle closure. We just have a wick. So this is like our opening price right here. And we went up all the way up until Wednesday, and then we just retraced Thursday and Friday. So for me, that's not like that's pretty healthy price action. That doesn't make me think it's breaking structure to go back to the downside. While it's definitely possible, um, that's just healthy price action to me. If you look at, okay, wait, hold that thought. This candle is kind of making me like it looks like it's rejecting here, but it also rejected here. So it's kind of almost like an indecision candle. But when you take a closer look, this is kind of how I see this right now. Like I see this as like a possible liquidity grab. rather than a break of structure back to the downside. So, in terms of, look at, got a bearish order block there and there. Okay. So, if this is a liquidity grab, then we're going to keep going just to the upside. Like we're just coming down here to make a higher low to then continue to retrace. I would want to see something kind of like this happen a little bit, I guess. Maybe we can come into these imbalances here, um, or maybe we just make a higher low, but we could open lower first and then start going back up to the upside for the week, right? And then like we can retrace on Thursday, Friday. Now, as far as a bearish option goes, I do see like a little bit of liquidity right here. So instead of this being a liquidity grab, if this actually was gonna last as a break of structure to the downside, even though, like I said, we didn't get a candle body closure below this low, which that's what I would like to see. Sometimes this is efficient because if on some type of time frame, this is going to be a candle body. So if we were going to get a bearish, oopsie, if we were going to get, where'd that go? Okay, a bearish week, I could see like, I don't know, maybe an open slightly lower and then maybe like a sweep up into here. And then we get like a break of structure back to the downside and then a retrace. This would be like our Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we begin to sell off. So, mind you, we are in the beginning of a month and the beginning of a quarter. So, looking at our 3-month chart, we are in this bullish order block. So, long term, I do believe that the dollar is going to be continuing bearish, but we could just get a bullish reaction for a while. That doesn't mean we have to make a new high here. Um, that could simply just look like it bounces here, we get a retracement, and then it keeps selling later. Um, right here. So I'm kind of just wondering when our next rate decision is, because I think that they were saying that they wanted to lower rates. Was it in the summer? Can't remember. But it's not until May, it looks like. May 1st. That's my birthday. Yeah. So, or of course, we could just smash through. So, and just like not even retrace at all. But let's just like go back and see where that arrow landed. Yeah, I mean, like, see, look at that arrow. Like, if we were to have a bullish reaction, that would align with how I wanted to see price come up into here, anyways. Um, so that aligns. It's looking good. Let's look at the monthly. We have 1 day left on this. So it's like, yeah, we have a pretty big candle to retrace. And, power of three, if we are going to be bearish over the long run in this next month, I mean, the first thing it's going to do is retrace first and then go down. So I'm still kind of biased for price to be bullish. Um, but it's very possible that both things could happen here. I'm gonna pull this up a bit higher. Yeah, so we could be getting like just like a slow movement to the upside for a little while here. If we do, because again, power of three, if we're gonna go down in the long run, I'm gonna anticipate that it's gonna retrace first because the banks want to sell high, right? So we're kind of low right now, so they don't want to sell low. Okay. So, yeah, so pretty much that thing that I just wrote at the end, I noticed right here on the monthly that there was this order block right here that hasn't been mitigated yet. So, usually like when I do like an analysis on a weekly candle, before the retrace, I'm like, oh, okay, it's gonna open lower to like sweep the weeklies low and then retrace and then pivot to sell lower. So we could get something like that happening on the monthly time frame, and it could be very well that it sells low enough to tap into here. At least fill this imbalance before we get that retracement up that we've been looking for. And like we're going into a whole entire new quarter, and so the order flow and like how all of the contracts are going to play out and stuff like that. Um, we're kind of like in this time where we need to like I'm just watching and waiting for order flow to be established. Like if we sell and go lower, then I'm gonna know what it's gonna do. If we go higher, then I'm gonna know what it's gonna do. Um, so we just gotta be patient and see what the order flow is gonna be for this next quarter. I'm just gonna label this here because again, I'm not sure if this is a liquidity grab or if it's actually a break of structure. Again, we're gonna have to be patient and wait and see what price action tells us. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so I'm not feeling super confident in this analysis because again, it's the beginning of the quarter and like I'm gonna have to wait and see. I do still want to see price come up into here. Um, but it's possibly showing weakness already. So again, so it's just like I need to kind of like wait and watch to see what the order flow is gonna be um on that. Okay. So for the NASDAQ. again, we didn't do much. What did I say last week? Uh, oh yeah, this was our buying POI, so there was liquidity resting here, and then it would keep going, or it would just bounce here and then pivot, but it didn't move too much. But it did push to the upside, and it didn't grab. It kind of did it backwards, so our analysis was, let's see, I think it was on here. So our analysis was like, let's see, here's Friday. Okay, so our analysis was like this, that it would go and then buy, right? But it happened kind of backwards. So the order flow was just different. So it actually bought first and then sold into our POI, which is also fine. Um, but it looks like we're pretty heavily moving to the downside. Um, and again, this is why I'm saying like I'm sad that I did not trade last week because I'll show you on US 30, but this was like a banger trade right here. So it was doing our analysis. See, like here's like it went up and then down first instead of going down then up. So I don't even know why I wasn't even paying. Like sometimes I just, most of the time, I really don't pay attention. But once we got our break of structure here on Wednesday, we broke this low. Wake up in the morning on Thursday, see this imbalance right here that was created when it broke structure. That's where I would have set my limit if I was paying attention right there. So it hit, came back up into that imbalance at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And then it came right into our POI, which, if you remember from last week, was these relative equal lows. This was a point of liquidity. So it literally came right into that. So that's a quick 1 to 3 trade. It's okay. There's always going to be another trade. But yeah, so last week, the analysis, it's just like a backwards analysis, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, we closed the market with like no wick here. We also have a bearish weekly order block on the monthly. It looks like we have a huge, pretty significant bearish candle. So I thought that it might have been bottoming out when it started to kind of push back up, but it turned right back around, and it looks like just because of how much volume is in this candle, it looks like it's gonna likely make a new low. Um, Looking at the quarterly time frame, the 3 month, we have a bearish order block here. So that's pretty significant. So if you wanted to make this easy, you could just throw a fib on this candle right here, and you would split this analysis into like a 3 month outlook. Will it keep selling? It's definitely possible. I mean, look how much we've been going up. You know, we have 3 months of decline here, or excuse me, 3 quarters, almost 4 quarters. Like, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 quarters. That's a full year of downturn that happened in 2022. So definitely never say never. Um, let's zoom back out. So we're getting really bearish signals on our NASDAQ chart. So we're going to keep the 3 month fib there. So let's see. Bearish order block here. Okay, so yeah, just keep in mind these 3 month fib levels here because I don't think they're necessary right now because we have a weekly order block and we're going to focus on that. If price was to break, um, if price was to open and break above this high right here, then I would be like, okay, let's take another look at our 3 month levels. Um, so we're just gonna throw Fibonacci on this weekly candle. And honestly, it really looks like we're just in sell-off mode again. So we might even get it open, like a market open today, and it just starts tanking. Um, but if the market wants to behave, we could get an open to sweep last week's low, and then we get a retracement, maybe to the 38, maybe to the 50, maybe to our optimal trade entry area, which is the 70% of the 88, and then it pivots for the week, and then we sell. So this would be like Tuesday, Wednesday. Um, Now we could get, like I said, price opens and then it just starts melting for the week. Um, or we could have price open and it opens in a gap, so like the candle would open down here because the market closed, but it really just looks like it never stopped moving. So we could get an open, like a huge gap this week that just opens down. And it might come into an area such as this, and then we would get a retracement on Thursday and Friday. But yeah, this is looking pretty bearish to me. So let's just double check that on the futures chart real quick, which we did get a wick on the futures chart. We got a wick here. No candle wick here. Let's look at the monthly. We actually do have a wick on the monthly. And then the 3 month, same thing. Okay. So one thing I will say to break this down a little bit more is I'm gonna leave the weekly fib here. And if this was actually just a retracement, so like we price sold, 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 and we came up to retrace a little bit, then it breaks structure back down to continue selling, right? So if that's the case, then if we drop down to the 4 hour chart, we have our break of structure right here. Okay, market structure shift. So that would make this whole imbalance right here. And it looks like it did already tap into it. Free game. And guess what magically is right here, the 78% retracement. So I'm going to minimize this to above this wick because this part of the imbalance has been mitigated already. So potentially price could come all the way back up into this box right here, which would be great. And this could be a selling POI. If we even get that chance. So that's where I will have my eye on. Keep an alert right there. Let's go to the 8 hour real quick. Yeah, even the 8 hour it tapped on Thursday at 6 a.m. Let's check the daily. Yeah, there's imbalance here. 12. Yeah, even the 12 hour tapped. So this would have been a really good entry as well. Okay. Okay. Look real quick. 2 week. See what that looks like. Really hate using the forex chart. I'm gonna use the futures chart, but I don't know what is wrong. Okay, so we do have a 3 week order block here that hasn't been tapped, which this candle is closing now. So again, like I said, when I fibbed that 3 month order block, the Fibonacci levels were all the way up here. So we're not going to worry about these objectives unless price wants to come back above this wick, and then we'll start looking at it. But just like don't forget that I mentioned it. Um, I just don't like to clutter my chart up. Okay. Taking a look at the Dow Jones. It looks like my internet kind of cut out for a second, so I hope that didn't ruin anything. And my computer's on 13%, so we're gonna try to do this fast. All right. So Dow Jones looks kind of similar a little bit. So first off, looking at the quarterly, oh my gosh, this is terrible. There's like a huge storm where I'm at right now, so I don't know if that's messing. Okay, I'm so sorry if it keeps cutting out. Okay, we're gonna do this quick. Okay, so Dow Jones on the 3 month time frame, we also have a bearish order block. We have these two huge wicks, and we also have this very obvious bullish 3 month order block. This is if we continue selling, which it looks like we are, this is likely going to be the objective that we're going to meet. Um, let's drop down to the month. We have the same thing, a really large bearish candle right here. Um, what does the weekly look like? I mean, you could consider this an order block because this candle actually does engulf this candle. It's just like it opened with a gap, so it's kind of like lopsided. Let's check the 2 week. Lots of rejection there. 3 week. Okay. So just off the weekly, we're going to do the same thing that we did for the NASDAQ, and we're just going to throw Fibonacci here on it. And just the same thing. Price opens a bit lower possibly, and then retraces. Hopefully it can retrace up into the 78 because the higher it is, the more we get to make money. But let's just say for right now, because of the significant volume that we have to the downside in those candles, it's going to make it to the 38 and then we pivot to make it to a new low. Um, again, that could happen first, and then we sell off either to make a new low or to make a higher low. But for this example, we're going to make a new low and then we retrace for the week. Because again, we're closing our monthly candle out. And sometimes before going back up, we want to see it sweep the low of that previous candle. So in that bearish event that I just said, that's what that would be accomplishing. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushing through this because my computer is literally about to die. Okay. Okay. All right. So sorry that was a little rushed, but I mean, it's pretty much the um, same way of thinking that we did the NASDAQ on. So yeah, so that's the analysis. I hope everybody has a blessed trading week. Go ahead and open that book of Proverbs, one chapter a day. Takes you 5 minutes. And takes you 5 minutes to read a day and is game for the rest of your life. But yeah, everybody have a blessed week. Rob, thanks for coming as always, and I will catch you guys next weekend. You're so welcome.